we didn't talk about this. What is going on with Covington and Masvidal? Because they're talking shit now. Harrington, can you shed any light on this? Because remember, they were good teammates. They both trained at ATT and they were being respectful to one another. But now they're going back and forth on Twitter. What were the tweets? What was said? And what is going on, Harrington? Come on, shed some light.
Well, I don't have anything that Colby said. I do know Poirier backed up Masvidal, said he would go down to ATT to help him train, and that he's not a bitch like Covington who talks shit. But I do have what Masvidal just said on Ariel Helwani's show. I'll be at the gym.
Please.
I'll be at the gym, Colby. If you're hearing this, because you will, because he acts like he's not sensitive, even though he's the most sensitive dude I've ever met. He cries and he reads comics.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. He cries like a bitch.
And that's coming from a good friend. They've been friends for years. They train with each other, right? Listen, let me tell you. When you're training with somebody, okay, you confide in them, you get to know them, you go through the ups and downs, the highs and lows. They become your brothers, you know what I mean? And you'll tell them things, afterwards when you get a shower and you're having a bad day, you're like, fuck, man, blah, 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 blah. I've got to go home and deal with my girlfriend. We're going through a tough time right now. You talk about stuff. So Covington has been telling Masvidal, man, all these comments on social media, they really get me down. And he cries, and then he goes home and he reads comics. Covington, seriously. Sit the fuck down, man.
He's like,
sit the fuck down.
You would never make fun of me, Batman. You'll always be my friend.
Oh, my God. Jeez, that's pretty funny. That is
but
good.
Benefit of the doubt, everyone, in your most sensitive moment, Bisping, you fucking imagine if people knew like your most sensitive moment that you had with your wife, being honest about whatever it is. No.
I'm a very emotional person. I don't mind admitting that. I'll shed a tear. I'm in touch with my emotions, Lewis. I don't care. It's very manly. I cry in a very manly way, though. I don't mind. I don't mind, of course. But I'm not going home and crying. I'm not crying because of the comments over the YouTube section, okay? Which, by the way, ours are very, very positive. So every single one of you that leaves a YouTube comment on our thing, you're awesome. Thank you very much. But yeah, even if they were bad, I wouldn't cry. By the way, I've had my fair share of fucking negative comments. I still get them now. I'm not going to cry like a little girl over it, though. No offense to little girls.
Yeah, look, little girls, it's not an issue. You can cry all you want, but...
I really thought that Dustin would have a little bit... I thought he would have a little bit more success keeping Khabib off of him. I think at this point, if Khabib gets you pushed up against the fence, you're probably going down. I don't think we can even really argue that at this point. But I thought Dustin would do a better job keeping him on the outside and really firing those shots from long distance, and that just wasn't the case. And Khabib shows again why he's probably the pound for pound best fighter in the world.
Unbelievable. And it's one of those things where when I was breaking down earlier fights of Khabib's, I think against Conor, and people kept saying, well, his takedown percentage isn't that high. He's not a very accurate takedown guy. He's just tenacious with it. It isn't a one and done. For the wrestling fans who remember a guy like John Smith or something like that, who went in single leg and got it every time. Khabib's not that guy. What he does is he comes in and wears you down and is tenacious. It's not an explosive double leg. It's not the slickest, most technical takedown in the world. But once he gets in, he never lets go. He never gives up. He never concedes that, okay, maybe this takedown isn't going to work, and he wears you down. So you might get the sprawl to stop that first takedown or that first impact. Or he doesn't get you right away, but it's that mauling style where he feels like he's going to get you eventually. And it felt like, to me, from the outside, he just wore Dustin Poirier down.
Yeah, and his pace is what a lot of people miss, and his ability to keep that pace at a high level without pulling off the gas. His wrestling reminds me a lot of a snake. He'll get a hold of you, and maybe just barely, and he'll slowly pull himself into you, and he'll slowly start to suck you up, and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and he's just relentless. He doesn't quit, and that's where a lot of these guys are missing it. When you're in the room and you're working your takedown defense and you're working your defense off the cage, it's really easy to hit 100 sprawls and you're defending against Division I national champions and these guys that have wrestled in the Olympics. But MMA wrestling is different. It's way different, and he just chains it together constantly over and over and over, and he just never lets go. He just never gives up on it. Even when Dustin was hitting those really nice switches, 99% of fighters would have gotten out. You know what I mean? Or would have been able to create a scramble and at least break away. And Khabib just does not quit. And that's a mindset thing. He is just relentless in his pursuit of a takedown.
Let's get back to Cris Cyborg if we can, Scott. She signed with you guys. It seems like it's a win for everybody, and frankly, about the biggest no-brainer I've ever seen in terms of free agents, certainly on the women's side of the game. The only thing I found kind of curious was the press release stating her contract was the largest in women's MMA history. What does largest mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we did our due diligence, researched some of the lawsuits that were flying around, and we feel that this is the largest contract amount agreement in the history of female mixed martial arts. And, we did our research, so I'm sure there's a lot of reporters out there digging for the research, but it's out there. And we feel very comfortable in saying that Cris is now the highest paid female fighter in the planet.
Now, as I understand it, she will be allowed to pursue possibly boxing or kickboxing bouts as well. And if so, to what extent would they happen under your purview or not? Like, what are the restrictions there?
Yeah, you know what? Without getting into contractual details, we had an agreement that we would allow her to box, and I believe that we can participate as a co-promoter in the boxing match if we choose. But if she really wants to box, bending schedule, I say let her go do it.
In adding Cyborg, does this mean you have to now redouble efforts to grow featherweight? How do you consider her addition in terms of what your role is to manicure that division?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. It is our job to make sure that we continue to sign free agents and grow from the bottom up like we have in not just her division, but all divisions, male or female, continue to grow, the Bellator brand. And really it started when I came here about 5 years ago. Our roster now doesn't look anything like it did 5 years ago. And that commitment is going to continue to grow. And, with Cyborg, Julia Budd is, to me, a great champion. She's on an 11-fight win streak. And I think she's a beast, too. She's gotten really good at the ground game and striking. I mean, her background is Muay Thai. So I think that, don't underestimate her moving forward. But, we are talking to Kat Zingano, and we just signed a bunch of girls that we think will be very competitive in that 145-pound weight class for her.
Can we expect some announcements one way or the other at this show on Saturday?
Well, listen, we're going to have some announcements, but you're going to have to come check it out to get them live.